The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
There was somebody about a year ago that a little over a year in the summer, he called me up. He said, I have a story for you. He says about 4 years before, his daughter was very sick. She was in a coma. And actually, I think it was a few months in the coma. And he said she was in Philadelphia Chop Hospital, very big sakana. The doctor said, I don't think she's going to make it. And he told me he was driving in Lakewood. He was in the car and he had a big test of Lashon Hara. He told me he controlled himself. That means he was going to say it, which you can't imagine the reward you get for that. And he turns to Hashem and he says, Hashem, I close my mouth. Please open the mouth of my daughter in Philadelphia. 10 minutes later, he gets a call from his wife. His wife says, you don't believe it. She's crying. She woke up out of the coma. And eventually, Baruch Hashem, she came out of the hospital, Baruch Hashem, totally 100% perfect. And I said the story in Lakewood, and somebody in a class with a lot of ladies, I give to many groups, and all of a sudden a girl jumps up. It's me. I was like shocked. I said, what? Yeah, I was the one. I was in the coma. Now I'm 14 years old. And this happened when I was 10. And why am I bringing this story out right now? I'll tell you why. He says, this man, one move, he said he took one step. And he made one move one time. And all of a sudden, he made one tefillah, one davening. He took his daughter that the doctor said probably she's going to die. And in 10 minutes, all of a sudden, the daughter had a total refuah shleima. In 10 minutes. 10 minutes, she became 100%. Chaim, somebody told me this, Chaim u'movis b'yad Lashon. Life and death is in the hand of the tongue. A person can actually cause people to live. When a person stops himself, and we said a few times already, the Vilna Gaon brought that special medrash that everybody, it's an amazing one. He brought a medrash that says when a person holds himself back once in his life, one time in his life, not to say something wrong, no angel or creation can imagine the reward you're going to get in the next world. And here now, a person stops 10 times, say Hashem, and there's a chus of the 10 times I stop saying bad things, Lashon Hara, negative, please help the matzav in Eretz Yisrael, help the captives be saved, how Hashem could do it. Even though it sounds very hard to understand how Hashem is the boss. Hashem can do anything in a Ke'arif Ayin. Yeshua's Hashem in one moment. We know when Yosef was in jail, the whole story over there, he got out in a moment, the whole story here. So here in the same thing, for Hashem, it's easy for Hashem to do it. It's us. The problem is in us. We need to have that zechus to merit. And Hashem says, oh, I see my children are doing what are they supposed to. I'll open up the gates and you'll see an open miracle. Open miracle that we can't imagine. Hashem could do. He did Mitzrayim and he did miracles for us since he created the world. How many billion trillions each second? He could do the same thing here. It's up to us. Everybody here, be careful, extra careful. And the only way, I'm telling you now, I said many times, the only way to be careful, the first step is to learn the 2 laws of Lashon Hara. And if you heard my recordings of the other ones, and if you didn't, again, the book is called Daily Companion, a blue book from the Art Scroll, or Family Lesson a Day, or other books, but those two, especially the Daily Companion, I'm getting about 350 stories of Yeshua's. And now is the time. If you're not learning it, please learn. And if you are learning it, there's one thing you could do now. You can inspire others. You can inspire many, many, many people. Right now, there's a chassan, I think, going on in Eretz Yisrael of somebody that heard from somebody I told somebody who told him. He was 33 years old. I said it in a different recording. He got engaged. For 3 months later, and he started his own group. He has about 200 people in his group learning it, even people that are not even so from. And they're in the group. And Baruch Hashem, now he's getting married now. And a person can inspire the world. Now we need it. And Baruch Hashem, I'm getting so many stories of people's families changing. Many families are doing it in the zechus of the Jewish people, Klal Yisrael. We're looking for zechusim. You have tefillah. Well, hopefully, Baruch Hashem, we're trying to daven. We have the till. We're trying to mechazik and learning. But there's something else, the mouth. It's the same mouth that davening and learning. Just now change it and make it positive. Make it nicer and learn it and show Hashem, look, your children are learning it. We're doing our best. Use the power of the mouth. We will be able to win. We'll be able to do the zechus of the Eibishter and do the Ratzon Hashem. I want to share with you some stories. There's something that was interesting. A boy that I taught in the school, in the Cheder, Lakewood Cheder, one of the schools I teach in a couple of schools. And then the Lakewood Cheder, a boy, I saw him, I think it was a week ago. He tells me he was very excited. He tells me, I'll tell you something. I have somebody, she was a lady from the family, or they know, 37 years old. She wasn't married, 37. So about a year ago, this boy gave this lady my USB. I have USBs. I have recordings. Baruch Hashem, I gave out probably thousands over the years. And he gave it to her. And she started learning this book, Daily Companion. A few months when they started, she was thinking, maybe I stop, I don't see. And the boy told, no, Rabbi Menache said you'll see it, you'll see things. And they still continue doing it. She continued doing it. And Baruch Hashem, just a few weeks ago, I think it's 2, 3, he told me maybe 3 weeks ago, she just got engaged about less than a year. About a year after she started. Amazing, 37-year-old, they started, yes. And I've said in many recordings, the change of a person is unreal. When a person changes, also Rebbe Tzekanievsky, Allah Hashem, she said that one of the big reasons why it causes bracha is because your mouth, like we said before, the mouth is pure, your tefillah goes straight. So right now we're very, very important. And people say, "Oh, I'm careful." It's not true. I just met today. A Rebbe told me, one of the Rebbes, I think in 7th or 8th grade, he said it to me today. He says he started doing it. His wife reads it. Now he'll read it at night, the blue book. A Rebbe for 20, 30 years. You know what he told me today? He told me, I see what you mean. The awareness is amazing. I'm able to right away say, hey, I'm learning, even though I'm learning a law of have nothing to do with the case, but now all of a sudden I want to say something. I say, wait a second. I can't say that, even though I'm learning a different law. But the law, just by learning it, the Chavetz Chaim wrote it around 1870. The words that he says, even though you're reading in English and you're learning the laws that what he spoke about, that has a tremendous effect in your life. It's going to affect you tremendously. You cannot imagine. And once you get tremendously affected and changed, Hashem will take that change and give us a chus to Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, the Yidden that Eretz Yisrael and Sakana from all areas, and all the Arugim and all the people, all the tsaras they're going through now. Hashem could change, again, Keherify in one moment, but it's up to you. You can't just sit back and say, everything's okay. No, now is the move. I had somebody else. This was amazing, amazing story. I'm still trying to get more details, but I heard it from the nephew of the man, the nephew. Yeah, I didn't get permission yet to say the name. The nephew told me this about 2 weeks ago. He said to me, amazing, amazing thing. He said, many years ago, I don't know how many years ago it was, he said he had his uncle. His uncle had some children, some kids already. And then his wife stopped having kids. And he, basically 7 years, then there was no kids. And after 7 years, his uncle went to Rav Dan Segel. Dan Segel, one of the big tzaddikim, it's good to know. Agav, I'm just saying this, Agav, anybody listening to Rav Dan Segel just said last week that he says a big zechus to save us from all the tzaros we have right now is to say Yehei Shmei Rabbah. That's the words that we say in Kaddish. Amen, true, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, let his great name, Yivarach, should be praised, Lo'elamaya, forever and ever. Just have intention and say, Kol Ram loud. He said that will break all Gezeros, which is a famous Gemara. But I don't want to go off the tangent. I'm just getting back over here. So if Dan Segel told the husband, the family, he says, learn the laws of Lashon Hara, and he gave them a guarantee that before Rosh Hashanah, whatever, many years ago, before Rosh Hashanah, you will find the news that your wife's expecting. They couldn't believe it. Okay, they said, okay, they'll do it. And about 2 days before Rosh Hashanah, maybe it dropped more, he didn't hear any news. So he hadn't got in contact with Dan Segel, and Dan Segel says, it's not Rosh Hashanah yet. And Mamish, maybe right before Rosh Hashanah started, they got the news that she was expecting. And there's another part of the story. It's an amazing story. Baruch Hashem, there is a Mamish, a Yid, Rav Mendel Rabinowitz, Allah Shalom. He was the head of Yeshiva Ktana. He was Mezaka the Rabbi in Baruch Hashem, but it's such a good, amazing school. And he said he was he's a friend of this person. And when he had the baby boy, that time he had a bris. And he told me, this nephew told me that he says, this Mendel Rabinowitz, it should be a zechus for him. He had a dream. He had a dream that the Manchester Rosh Hashiva came to him in a dream and told him, I'm going to be the Sandik in the bris. This is only about 10 years ago. The Manchester Rosh Hashiva was passed away about 25 years ago. And he's like, what? I have a dream. Now, he was a Talmud of his. He was a student of his, Rabinowitz. And he went over to this man that had the baby boy. He also works, and he was involved in Yeshiva Ktana, in the yeshiva. And he said, I don't know why I had this dream. Why I'm having this dream? He's going to be something. He's not alive. He says, I know why he had the dream. Because I'm learning the laws of Lashon Hara. That is his count. That was his system. We spent in other recording. He made a count of 4 months, and he promised he's going to help defend anyone who learns in Shemaim. He said he never saw family, they didn't have Yeshuas. He didn't have something help. So that was the reason. And there's a big, powerful story. Person says, how does it go? And we can use those type of stories. We can use it for any case. And here, the more people do it, whoever's listening to the recording, the more people you get. You get 10 people, 100, and thousands of people are learning it. Thousands of words that a person's careful not to say Lashon Hara. It goes up in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem says, wow, My children, I'm going to make an open miracle. I'm going to save the captives. I'm going to stop the war. I'm going to make everything go so amazing that you're going to see how a father takes care of his children when his children try to do the right thing. And Bez Hashem try to do beautiful things. I want to share with you a few other stories, a few cute stories. This was one I heard, this was a week ago. A week ago I was going into, I think it was Torah Treasures store. And a man came over to me and he says, I'll tell you a story. I think it was in that store. He says about 20 years ago, this is going back 20 years ago, he knew somebody who didn't have children for about 19 years. 19 years. And then Baruch Hashem, about 19 years, he was zoichet to have a child. I think it was a boy. He told me it was a boy. And he got into a conversation with him and he said, wow, what is it? You got a zechus after so many years? He told him, I know what the zechus is. And he told him, what? The zechus is, I started learning Chafetz Chaim. I've never heard a story so many years. I did have one other story with 19, 20 years, but I'm getting tremendous stories with children. I've told many people in the recordings, husband and wife learn together within a year. I haven't seen if everything is okay, no other major problem in medical, Bez Hashem, you'll see things, you'll see. I have maybe over 20 stories of Yeshua's, but it's amazing when a person starts learning it, things happen. I'm going to give you a cute story. This is from somebody who's the Gabbai in my shul. I didn't ask him permission for his name, so I'll just say the Gabbai in my shul, I daven, one of my shuls I daven. He told me, he's a Rabbi. He's a Rabbi in Mesivta. And he tells people about learning Chafetz Chaim. I tell him some of my stories, he tells it to his class. And he had a boy in his class that went to Eretz Yisrael to learn. And in Eretz Yisrael he was learning. And he had a friend of that, he got into yeshiva, and he had a friend of his that couldn't get into yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael where he wanted to get into. So he told his friend, he said, let's learn Chafetz Chaim, why not? 2 laws of Chafetz Chaim, you'll learn it and you'll have bracha. That's what he told him. They started learning it, he went to apply and he got in. But this boy decided, even though he got in, he said, I'll try another yeshiva. He went somewhere else. He didn't like it. So he went back to the first yeshiva and he said, I'd like to come back. He says, nope, too late. We accepted you. You didn't want to go. Now you went somewhere else. We can't accept you. So the other friend again, the one from the Gabbai, his student, he tells him, why don't we learn it again? Try again. It sounds like a trick, but I'm going to tell you why it worked. He started learning again and he tried to play again and he got in. That was the story he told me. And I tell you what people think. It's like a segula. It's a trick. It's nothing to do with it. I'll tell you why. When you start learning it, many, many people, they get inspired. And what happens is most people, actually, I would say if you do the English one, the Daily Companion or Family Lesson, they have few books that inspires you. Sometimes the Hebrew, you don't understand it well enough, so it doesn't. All of a sudden, you really change. And that little change, big, small, that's enough to open the gates. And the bigger thing you need, the bigger more change you have, the bigger thing you can get. I remember, I'm not sure if I said this or it's a cute one, but people might not believe it when I'm saying it, but it's true. A man called me up. I think I said in one recording, I remember. He called me up. He says he had a tremendous stomach pains. And the second, he was learning in the afternoon with his chavrusa. He was having so much pain. He said, I got to go home. I can't. I got to go rest. I got to sleep. I can't learn. He told his chavrusa, it was the one who was learning with, I'm leaving. He went into the car. He told me. He put in my recording, my USB, because he wanted to listen to my stories. He told me that he got inspired about being more careful. I got him mechazik. And in the car ride, I don't know how long it took to get home, his stomach started feeling better. He says by the time he came home and he started walking, he told me the whole pain went away from A to Z. He called me, I think it was next night or that day, that night. Or he just called me up. He said, I don't believe it. I don't understand. Like to him, it was a shock. And I'll tell you what's pshat. He got inspired. That's what he said. He got chizik. Chizik means he's going to be more careful from Lashon Hara. Anybody that becomes more careful Lashon Hara, he's a different person. And that's why I tell people, please learn it. If you know anybody, again, I'll remind everybody. Get your cousins, your uncles, your grandparents. Teaching a cheder, and I tell them, please get your grandparents also to learn it. They're going to change their life. A lady once called me up. She says she's about 70 years old. And she told me I was not careful of Lashon Hara. And she started learning it. And she told me, I don't believe it. I'm already changing. That means she's going to change all her 70 years of life, fixing all the thousands of Averis, all from learning it 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day. Mamish, the person actually is changing his entire life in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. A lady, 70 years old, and she's changing. And I remember saying the word. She says, I wasn't careful. I mean, she used to say, thousands. And now she's feeling bad. And all those feeling bad, the Eibusher says, that's it. Now, a lot of things happening. First of all, you're doing tshuva. You're returning to Hashem. You're cleaning thousands of averos off. You're becoming a better person. And now your davening gets better because now it goes up, like we said. Like the Zohar Kodesh said, we said in the beginning of the recording, we said that the Zohar says the tefillah stays in the air. And once you feel bad, you do tshuva, like one person said, a beautiful idea, that all the tefillahs come from the 10 years, goes up to Hashem, and then everything goes. And that's why so many stories happen fast. I have approximately maybe 50, maybe 60, maybe more stories of people that got helped, major help, in 40 days. How is that possible? How can it be? 40 days is a special number. 40 days Hashem gave us the Torah, and He gave us, Moshe Rabbeinu went to Har Sinai, 40 days. Hashem sent the flood, 40 days changed the world. A lot of things with 40 changes. So the person makes a change, and Hashem opens the gate with 40. Stories that are unreal. I've said many, many stories about it, but I want to share with you a few more new stories that I don't think I ever said it. I have somebody in my school, and again in the Cheder. He's a teacher. And this story actually was about, 2 years ago, but I don't recall I ever said it. And I told a lot of the teachers and rabbis, everybody to learn it. And he has a brother, I think it was 7 years in Hachur. Has a brother. So he decided, let's make a group of the family without the brother. Maybe it's sensitive to tell the brother. Him, and I think it was 4 others. Him, his father, and 3 others. They made a phone, they made like a line together to call together. And he tells me about 7 months later, comes over to me, he's so excited. He said, I gotta tell you, my brother's wife is expecting. Like, whoa, I was excited. I still remember that now. It's 2 years sukkahs. I think it was 2 years ago. I was in my sukkah, and he calls me up. I want to tell you, my brother's wife just had a baby boy. It was like such an excitement. 7 years. So what's going on here? They learned it for 7 months, and they did it a certain way. It was a different way of doing it. Like I usually tell people, no, it doesn't matter. The person changes. 5 people change. 5 open gates, and Hashem opens. Imagine thousands. Imagine what you can do in the world. Imagine, I told the Zohar Kodesh says another Zohar, which is very, very a little scary. I said in the last recording about that it causes when people say Lashon Hara, since it's one of the worst, and people say, oh, why is it not like a regular Aveir? It's not. Because if you look in the Yerushalmi and the Tosefta and all around, you'll see that it says just like Talmud Torah, learning is the greatest mitzvah of the doing. The Lashon Hara is the same mouth. The negative is the worst sin in the Torah. One of the worst. I don't know, it says one or the worst, but it's very bad. And it causes bad things to happen in the world. And when a person's careful, he stops it, and he causes the opposite, to get bracha. I have another story where there's somebody who's actually the daughter was divorced. And I knew the family. I don't usually do this, but I actually told them straight out. I said, if you and your wife, daughter do this, Be'ez Hashem, within about a year, the daughter will be engaged. I don't always say, but sometimes I felt a feeling that I saw that he was a good person. He was in Yerushalayim, and he just needed a little push. And he actually started it. And 1 year, I remember the middle of the year, he says, no, I didn't go. I told my daughter, just keep going. About a year later, he found out the news is that daughter's was going out, and Baruch Hashem got engaged. And he actually mentioned my name by the board. And he said, and I spoke to him. He says, and you know how I know it's because of Chafetz Chaim? Maybe she's young. She got a very good shidduch. When you start learning, and don't stop. Sometimes a person stops. I heard it just now. A family was doing it for a certain amount of months, and they stopped. And I said, just keep going, and you'll see bracha. You don't stop. Things can happen amazing. I had my cousin. I'll say the name. My cousin. Her name is Abakasis. Her last name is Abakasis. She sells jewelry in Lakewood. I have a few stories, about 4 or 5 stories from her. But she called me up just now, this week, and I spoke to her on the phone. She told me something amazing. There was a girl, 41 years old, and the family is from out of town. I won't say the name of the city, but people probably know this past week. And what happened was she came to buy jewelry. The mother of this girl, 41, came to buy jewelry, and she says, listen, learn Chafetz Chaim. So she tells me her husband was learning Shmir. So Lashon, you know what? I'll do this blue book. She started this blue book about 5-6 months later. She got engaged, and just now she went to buy jewelry a little while ago, and she said, I don't believe it's 41-year-old, and she just got married this past week. 41. If you don't want to hear the details, you can actually, you want to speak. Abakas, she sells jewelry, and she has a lot of stories. She tells people to do it, and she sees herself open miracles. I think this is the 5th. The 5th story I think she had. She probably has a list of all the stories, and she tells people, learn it. You'll see great things. And Baruch Hashem, so many great things are happening, and people change their life. I had somebody also, just a cute story, in the Hasidic Olam, that they go out and they get married young. And I had somebody in my class, a boy in my class told me, his father was learning with a chavrusa, Hasidic person. and had 3 children in Shidduchim. I don't remember, it was 2 girls and a boy, 3. And they weren't young. They were like 23, 22, but that's considered old. They get married usually younger. And he was going crazy. So they decided, let's add to our learning, Chavrusa, learn a few extra minutes. And they started doing a few extra minutes. And within 1 year, he told me, my father's Chavrusa's kids, all 3 got engaged in 1 year. And now I'm just coming now to an end. Just one other story with somebody. A lady just called me from the school that I teach in the morning, and she said she was getting blood work, and the lady accidentally hit her nerve. It was very painful, and she heard somebody had the same thing happen. She was 3 years in service. She started learning, again, this daily companion. She told me just this week, on day 43, the doctor checked her, couldn't believe, Baruch Hashem, everything is good, no permanent damage, nothing. And the other lady that she heard was 3 years, and she told me, I think all this is a chus. Baruch Hashem, I'm getting a lot of stories, but I just want to end off with this point. Now we need Zechusin. We spoke about davening in the beginning. We spoke about the mouth. Please learn it. And if you're learning it already, be more careful. If you're learning it and you're careful, be extra careful and tell others. Whatever you could add is another Zechus for Klal Yisrael. And we mentioned what Rav Segel said last week, that also, especially for the men who are listening to this, or the ladies that go to shul, about when they answer Kaddish, please. You answer Kaddish, oh man, it's true, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, the Gemara says, anybody who answers Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Kol Koich, with all his strength, which means having the intention of the words, and who are loud, Koirin Lo Gezard, and they rip up a decree against you. Imagine thousands of people will rip up all the decrees on Klal. So you can imagine how great it is. So you have these 2 powers. You have the Yehei Shmei Rabbah together with what I spoke about Chavetz Chaim. The mouth is so pure. And all of a sudden, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, my children, you did it. My children, I'm finally coming home. I'm going to build the 3rd base of Mikdash, which takes a moment. Hashem is going to build the 3rd one. The first 2 were built by people. The 3rd one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to build it. I'm going to bring Mashiach. The shofar is going to blow. And we're going to say, who brought the shofar to blow? Who brought Mashiach to come? You. You. Every person listening to this, everyone is the one that brought it. And Be'ezer Hashem will be Zoiche to tremendous great things, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will see the tsar, which he does, and say, Dayan, that's it, enough. Hashem says, that's it, I'm going to bring your children back and bring Mashiach. Just want to tell everybody, don't forget to hit the follow button and share it with others. Do it right now. You want to join a group of people learning the laws of Lashon Hara daily all over the world, go into dailysh.org, and while supplies last, you can sign up and have a free daily companionship directly to you. And Be'ez Hashem, we should have a beautiful week and all Hatzlach.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org